Hello everybody, this is Connor at BoatsDon'tSink, here with another Vice Schwartz deck profile. It's been a minute since we've looked at one of these, but with Chainsaw Man releasing last week, I wanted to get some decks out, preferably a little quicker than this, but here we are. Today we're going to be looking at the StockSoul Treasure Himeno Aki deck. This is just, the deck that kind of swept Japan's meta, leading to a restriction, and is what pretty much everyone is expecting to be the most popular build here in English as well. Before we take a look at the deck, as usual, this is mainly just meant to be a starting point to work off of and may not be fully optimized for any specific metas. That being said, this is also very heavily based on most of the lists that we're topping in Japan, and between those lists you'll find mostly similarities. Very few of the lists strayed too far from like a 45-ish card shell with a couple just changes here and there. So this is, probably the result of a lot of testing and sort of finalized lists from Japan, but remember that you can always sort of adjust that. The English meta does play differently from the Japanese meta, and some adjustments will likely be necessary. Looking at the list here, we have, you'll notice a decent number of one-ofs, especially in the level 0 line, our utility, but we have lots of ways to grab those. We have just a ton of consistency overall, despite the sort of vast amount of one-ofs, and an easy 2-color shell, so we don't have to worry about too much color management. Outside of level 1, we might have a little issues. We have an event and our level 1 character in different colors, but we have some ways to remedy that. So yeah, let's just jump right in here. Looking at our level split, it is very heavy on zeros. We're playing 22 level zeros, 9 level 1s, so majority of our deck is level 1 and lower, which is going to be great for opening playables in the early game, and just having low-cost cards to keep attacking with and build resources. We have, as I said, pretty much a 2-color deck, 20 green cards, 23 blue cards, only 2 yellow and 5 red. Those are just there for utility. 38 characters, 4 events, 8 climaxes. 19 soul triggers is a little low for a deck that plays a double soul climax, but not really any reason for that to matter a whole lot. We're not playing like choice trigger or anything that cares about the number of our soul triggers, so it is just our level 2s and 3s. We're playing very few backups, no real like 1-1 back rows or anything like that. So yeah, let's just take a look a little more detail at each of these cards. First up, we have Leader of Special Division 4 Makima at a 1-of. This is a Climax swap, but it's a bit unique of a Climax swap. I believe this is the first version of this we've had in English. So on play from hand, you may pay 1 if you do search your deck for up to 1 Climax, reveal it to your opponent, and then choose a Climax from your hand, reveal it, exchange the 2 Climaxes, and shuffle. So this functions basically just like a normal Climax swap, but instead of swapping hand and waiting room, you're swapping hand and deck, and then you'll shuffle afterwards, obviously. So this is just good for post refresh, especially if you hold a Climax through refresh, you can still get the one that you're going to want. This is really good. Less so in the end game, and actually more so throughout the middle of the game, since we do have a lot of deck speed with a lot of our cards. This can mean that we, even if we say trigger a treasure and then go straight into a refresh, we can swap that into our StockSoul to keep looping our main advantage combo. Second effect is beginning of climax phase. We can give a character plus 1,000 power. Nothing super notable there, just, extra power text slapped onto our climax swap. Second, we have Last Night's Drinks Makima, another 1-of, and our final yellow card of the deck. 0/0/1500. On play from hand, you can discard 2 Devil Hunter or Devil, which is going to be every card in our deck, characters from your hand. If you do look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up to 1, put it in your hand, and put the rest into your stock. It is very possible that this deck sort of gets over encumbered on a hand and might have to discard to hand size at end of turn. If that's ever the case, you can play this card to convert some of that extra hand, either 1 or 2, into stock. This is also good since we do want to loop our advantage combo every turn, and it's on a StockSoul. This can help us find that over and over again. By playing this card, we can discard 2, check top 2 to hopefully find another copy of our StockSoul. And worst case scenario, even if we don't, we're getting stock that we can use to brainstorm. And our brainstorm is also going to help us dig toward the climax. So just really good for climax looping consistency and converting resources into places where they're not wasted. Second effect is when your other character attacks, this gets plus 1,000 power until end of turn. Again, not super relevant. It's just kind of extra power text slapped onto our cards. Next, we have Devil Hunter Himeno. This is a 2 of. This is a Brainstorm, you'll notice. And we're only playing 2, but it's because we have a lot of other Brainstorms. So first effect here is Act, pay 1, put this standing card into your memory, so you can't use this after the Brainstorm effect. If your level is 2 or higher, search your deck for up to 1 level 2 or higher character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this card going to memory is relevant for exactly 1 card in our deck, that being the finisher Aki. And that is probably often what you'll be searching with this effect. Though other times, if you already have the Akis in your hand, you can use this to search an early play or a free fresh counter or even just an assist to power up our early plays. Second effect on it is the Brainstorm effect, which may or may not be getting used. Oftentimes this is just going to hit the board, go to memory to grab a character, and sort of sit there forever. But if you want to brainstorm with it, pay 1, rest itself, brainstorm 4 for each climax, choose a character in your waiting room, and return it to your hand. So just a typical salvage brainstorm. Good for getting, key pieces that we need as pluses. Though you're probably not going to be mashing this super often. Maybe every now and then. Next, we have Slice of Everyday Life Aki Hayakawa. This is our other climax swap for the deck. So this is on play from hand. We can discard a climax and sack 1 other character from our stage by putting them into waiting room. If we do, choose a climax in waiting room and return it to hand. So this is going to be similar to the yellow climax swaps in both Guilty Gear and Ari Ferretta, 2 sets that came out very recently. It's costless in terms of stock. We're just trading off a character on our board instead. With how many utility level 0s we have, this is usually not going to be a problem. Though it can get a little awkward in the mid game if we're having to sack our 1-0 beaters. We ideally don't want to do that, but if we have to, looping our level 0 combo is probably better. This is also just going to be slightly worse than the yellow one in the case that if you're triggering treasures and they're going to hand, the yellow climax swap is going to be able to shuffle those treasures back into your deck, allowing you to trigger them again and get another +1. Whereas this isn't. But sometimes you don't, if you're triggering treasures, you're blind stocking anyway, you might not know what's in your deck. Being able to grab a climax out of waiting room is just super consistent, and being able to do it for no stock cost helps us build resources. So playing 1 of this, it's also green, and while we do have 20 green cards, I was a little concerned about green color fix in this deck, just in order to have it in time for level 1 in addition to a blue. So another reason to have a green card in here. There is also, if you prefer regular climax swap from waiting room, there is a red one in the trial deck that you could use instead. Our first 4 of, we have Devil Hunter Kobeni. This is a 0/1000 with a pretty standard effect. When placed on stage from hand, you can discard 1. If you do, reveal the top card of your deck, choose a level X or lower character in waiting room, and return it to your hand. X is the level of the revealed card. We are very heavy on level 0s. There's a 60% chance pretty much that you're going to hit a 0 off of this, but we also have a lot of utility at 0, so that's not really a problem. Being able to convert dead cards in hand, especially extra climaxes, if we're flooding on them, into 0s, that just help us dig through our deck and find the rest of our pieces is very good. And this is, honestly, grabbing a copy of itself off of its own effect, if you have to grab a 0, is not the worst thing in the world. If you don't need a climax swap or a brainstorm or something like that. But this is just a lot of consistency overall and a good chunk of the green that we'll want to be throwing in our level at some point. Next, we have another brainstorm. This is a 1 of, just here for a little bit of utility. Sudden Confession Makima. It has a climax combo, but we're not playing the climax nor the card that it searches for, so we're going to ignore that effect. We're here for the brainstorm. Act. We send 1 of our other characters from stage into waiting room and rest this card. Brainstorm 4 for each climax revealed. Perform the following action. Look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. This may seem familiar from 7 Deadly Sins with the Elaine brainstorm that they play. This is essentially the same exact card. It even combos with a standby, just like the Elaine. I think this combo is a little better, not relevant to this deck. This is basically here as a stockless way to dig for our climax once again through brainstorming. This is a we have another check top 3 brainstorm in this deck, but this one again it's stockless and it pluses, whereas our other one does not. It's a spammable brainstorm. So this is generally just something you might want to have sitting around for a couple turns to sort of trade off any extra utility characters, especially transitioning from level 0 into 1. This can be pretty good at just clearing out anything you were going to play over anyway if anything survived. And, you know, late game, it can churn through a lot of cards and get you extra hand. Next, we have 4 copies of First Taste Makima. This is likely going to be the most expensive card building this deck. I can't predict where they're going to be by the time you're watching this, but I know early the week after release they were hitting $25 or $30 a copy, and for good reason. So this is a 1500. On place from hand, you can pay 1 and put a Devil Hunter or Devil character from Waiting Room at the bottom of your clock. If you do, search your deck for a level 1 or lower character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Not only is this a Ricky effect, this is the best costed Ricky effect, similar to the Kurumi from Data Bullet, where we get to choose what's going into our clock. This is good for setting up our colors, because we do want 2 colors at level 1, as I mentioned. We're going to need blue for our event and green for our character, meaning if we go to level 1 and then play this Makima, we can basically guarantee that. Now, if you're wondering what you're going to be searching off of this, typically first priority is going to be the Climax combo at level 0 that we're playing, since that is our main form of card advantage. But we can only resolve one of those, so if you already have one, you're either A, going to be looking for forming an alliance Himeno that is a deck searcher for our event, allowing us to set up those, or just the level 1 green card, the Kishibe, that we plan on fielding ideally 3 copies of on our board at level 1, just to sort of wall up for our opponent. So since we need multiples, using Makima to search them can be pretty efficient. And otherwise, we can grab the events. If the Kishibes are not in our deck anymore, especially, the events are able to salvage them, hopefully. So we can just use that. Otherwise, if you need, you know, a Climax swap, go get it. If you need one of the other brainstorms, go get it. You have plenty of options here, so just pretty good card overall. Second effect on it is an alarm effect. If it's the top card of your clock at the beginning of your Climax phase, you can choose a Devil Hunter or Devil character, and it gains the following ability until end of turn. On attack, look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck and put them back in any order. We're not really playing the card for this effect, it's kind of just extra text stapled on. You're probably not ever clocking this intentionally to get the effect. Ideally, you stop clocking pretty early anyway, but if it ends up on top of your clock, you know, it's pretty good. It's going to let you maybe guarantee that you don't trigger a Climax on your last attack, so you can get a cancel or something like that. Maybe control whether you hit a soul trigger or not in a lane where you just need more precise damage. Since we're playing so few anyway, it can help you not overswing there, I guess. But it's not really something we have many ways to abuse in this deck. It's kind of just there on an already good card. We have 4 copies of Forming an Alliance Himeno. This is a 0/500. First effect, on place from hand, you can discard a Devil Hunter or Devil character to search your deck for Easy Revenge. Reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Easy Revenge is the event that we play, making this card fairly similar to the Chloe level 0 in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, searches the Mask event. However, Easy Revenge is slightly different profile from Mask, and we'll see that when we take a look at it in a second. Second effect on the card is just a level 0 bottom deck bomb. This is still pretty good right now. Obviously, we'd play the card for the search effect anyway. But level 0 bottom deck bombs are pretty good against decks like Hololive, where they have a lot of on-death effects for their plussing. You can just keep clearing those off the board pretty easily. There are also some options you can play in this deck that we don't have here. But you can maybe cut down some of the 4-ofs or some of the utility for either a clean cut, so that you can bomb with this and then save it using a clean cut. Or there's a power level 0 that on attack can send one of your characters to stock. So after you crash in and bottom deck bomb with the Himeno, instead of letting it get reversed and just go to Waiting Room, you can send it off to your stock for extra resources instead. Whole lot of options there that synergize with it. And you can even cut this down to 3 to make room for those, but we do want as many of the event as possible in our memory, so we're playing 4 just to see it more often. Next, we're going to go a little out of order. We're going to take a look at the event itself, since it is pretty critical to a lot of our game plan. It's a 1/1 blue event. Put the top 2 cards of your deck into Waiting Room. Choose a level X or lower character in Waiting Room. Return it to hand. X is equal to the total level of the cards put into your Waiting Room by this effect. It is a clone of the Cigarettes event profile, which is pretty fitting for this deck thematically. And then it goes to Memory. While it's in Memory, this is why it costs a stock. If it's in your memory, it gives your Public Safety Devil Extermination Special Division for Aki Hayakawa. On attack, look at the bottom card of your opponent's deck and put it at the bottom of their deck or into their Waiting Room. So that Aki is going to be our level 3 finisher climax combo. And it seems like a strange ability to give him, but we'll cover exactly why he has it and how we're going to use that a bit later. For now, all you need to know is Easy Revenge is a good utility card that's going to help us grab whatever we want out of Waiting Room. Again, similar to the Kobeni, we have a lot of zeros, so we're likely going to be milling 0, but all of our zeros are utility, so it's fine. And if you can mill a 1 or higher, which is still 20 cards out of our deck, since you're milling 2, it's not unreasonable. You can grab our level 1 to set up, or start grabbing early plays or finishers. Keep going with our level 0 line, as extensive as it is. We have 1 copy of the Future Devil. This is a 0/0 1500, global 500 to all your other Devil Hunter or Devil characters. And when your other Career Advice Aki Hayakawa is placed on the stage from your hand, if there are no markers under that character, you may put this card face up underneath that character as a marker. If you do, search your deck for a Devil Hunter or Devil, reveal it, put it at the bottom of your stock, and shuffle your deck. So this is an interesting package. It basically causes your Aki Hayakawa, which is it's a 2k assist to level 3 or higher characters. It's what we're going to be protecting our early plays with. Basically makes it cost no stock, and you do that by compressing a little bit instead of stocking from Waiting Room, which is cool. But you minus the Future Devil, since it's going to send itself as a marker. I'm honestly not super keen on this package. It does unlock an extra effect on the Aki that we'll look at in a bit, but I don't think it's a particularly important effect. I actually think this Future Devil card, since we're playing the Aki anyway, it is the best level 2 assist that we have access to, I believe. Since we're playing it anyway, we can play the Future Devil. And I think the Global 500 is actually the most relevant text here. Since this deck is a StockSoul deck, it means that our level 1s are kind of going to be at a static power line, whether we're on offense or defense. They're always going to be the same power. And with this deck being as powerful and likely popular as it is, mirror matches will probably be fairly common. And since your offensive and defensive power are exactly the same, in a mirror match, you're going to be attacking tied into each other a lot. And I think that extra 500 power from the Future Devil can very likely make or break mirrors by forcing your opponent to be on the downside, where they're either having to crash in or side attack, or just losing their characters when you attack into them. And to add on to this, the Kishibe, which is our biggest character, also prevents the playing of events or backups. So you can't even tech backups here to actually win that fight by backing up on defense. They're just stuck at whatever power they are. And getting that extra 500 edge can be huge in the mirror matches. So that's honestly the main reason we have Future Devil here. And this might actually be a priority target off the Makima 0 if you're playing the mirror. Our last level 0 is arguably our most important. It is our card advantage combo at level 0. So the climax combo is at the beginning of your attack phase, which this is relevant that it's before you start triggering. If you have 2 or more other characters, you may put 1 secret alliance from your climax area into your Waiting Room. If you do, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 Easy Revenge or Devil Hunter or Devil characters, reveal them to your opponent, put them into your hand, and put the rest into your Waiting Room. So this combos with, as I've said, a StockSoul. It stocks a level 1 or lower character from Waiting Room. And it has the ability to add Easy Revenge in addition to characters. So it's going to help us get our events set up. The StockSoul itself is building us resources, stock resources, while also the combo builds us hand resources. So just really good all around. It is a little reminiscent of Seven Deadly Sins Elizabeth combo that they play, where they sit those in the back row as their brainstorms and just get a bunch of card advantage off slamming StockSouls there. It's a little different because we can't play multiple Himeno, but we're getting 2 cards off a single Himeno. So it's like we have double Elizabeth in the back anyway. Slightly worse selectivity, but Unfortunately, not much we can do about that. It is worth it to take the slight hit in our Brainstorm combo for what else the deck can provide. The other effect on this card is, as I've said, a Brainstorm effect. It's spammable, so we can use this as many times as we'd like in a turn as long as we have the stock to do so. You Brainstorm 4 for each climax revealed. Look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Choose 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest in waiting room, and then discard 1. So we're not gaining card advantage, we're just breaking even here. But still looking at top 3, we can still add events off this, we can still add climaxes off this. Since we're getting stock from the StockSoul, we do actually have a little extra leeway to just sort of jam this Brainstorm whenever we need to find another StockSoul to keep going with our combo, or just a lot of bad deck states. So this is definitely a card you can afford to sort of lean on as a crutch to keep your deck your game going smooth. Moving into our level 1s, our really main and only level 1 here is Public Safety Devil Extermination Special Division for Captain Kishibe. He has way more words in his name than he does his card text. 106k. You cannot play events or backups from your hand, so he is stuck at whatever power level he's going to be. And continuous, this card gets plus 2,000 power for each other Public Safety Devil Extermination Special Division for Captain Kishibe in your center stage. As you can tell by that mouthful of a name, it is himself. He powers up he gains power from other copies of himself, meaning we want 3 of them. That makes them 10,000 power, which is big. Basically, nothing else in the game is going to be able to contest that at level 1, outside of maybe some early plays. You're really only losing to bombs, or like bounce effects or something. Otherwise, this guy is just a wall that your opponent will never be able to get through until they hit level 2 and start playing costed characters. So this is really nice to sit on. You can just punch your opponent and not have to worry about replacing characters very much, which does let you focus on looping your StockSoul and things like that. Downsides here, I am actually not the hugest fan of this card, and I'll tell you why. It has some big downsides, despite being massive and all that. Not being able to play events or backup is actually pretty awkward. First issue is that we don't have access to a lot of the good backups the deck might want otherwise. The deck has 2k backups. The deck has an anti-change backup at level 1, which is a sort of unique strength to it that you don't get to utilize because of Kishibe. And the free fresh backup that we do play in this deck, if any Kishibe stick around on your board, you're not going to get to play. Second thing, you can't play events, right? So not just the backups, but we can't actually play Easy Revenge once Kishibe is on board, meaning we have to set up our any Easy Revenge that we want either before we play our level 1s or after they've all died, once we're moving probably into level 3. That is a little awkward. It does make sort of deck control and selection a little awkward, especially if the events start clogging your hand. So that's definitely something to consider as well. Some of the other options that the decks do play, really the main option is just to go heavier on the next card we're going to look at, which doesn't lock you out of those things. And the other thing that I've mentioned a few times, this is green, our event's blue. So if you want to jam the events first, you have to have blue and then also have green to play this guy. Other card that you could play kind of fixes this. I do think it's workaroundable enough with the utility that we have. You can manage to play the events and then this guy. But you are going to have to sort of keep that in the back of your mind the whole time you're playing the deck. The only other level 1 we have is 1 copy of Reward for Work Himeno. This is a 1045. During your turn, if you have 2 or more other characters, it gets plus 2,000 power. And then during the turn that it's placed on stage from your hand, when its battle opponent becomes reversed, you can pay 1, discard 1, and rest one of your standing characters. If you do, choose 2 characters in your waiting room and return them to your hand. This is effectively a pay 1 plus 1 that also hand fixes an extra time, since you're discarding 1 and grabbing 2 cards. Only during the turn you play it, and it does need a reverse, which is why we're only playing 1. You're likely not going to be able to get this a whole ton of the time. But when you can, it's a form of card advantage that's not tied to our Climax combo. And if you do Climax combo, then you're basically getting the stock for this for free. So you're just getting an extra +1 instead of the stock off your StockSoul. This card can be pretty good on the first turn you hit level 1. If you still have some level 0s sitting around especially. But also, if you just haven't gotten 3 Kishibe in your hand and you want to go for the 10k power line instead of 8k from having 2, you can play this, play some of the event to sort of mill a little bit, and try to grab some Kishibes off that, and then use Himeno's effect itself to grab 2 Kishibe or cards that can find them on the next turn, as your sort of card advantage for the turn. This is especially fine if you hit level 1 first, since you can do this while your opponent still has level 0s to farm. And then just set up Kishibes to kill your opponent's level 1s and wall out from there. So yeah, decent one of. If you don't want to play the Kishibes, you can play like 3 of this and like some level 2 killers or just extra utility. Our backup, our only backup in the deck is Last Cigarette, Aki Hayakawa. This is just a free fresh backup. It is 2500 power. We can use it to protect our early plays if all of our Kishibe have died. Or just use it after our finisher turn. Our finisher turn is very light on resources. So if we end up in a sort of bad or questionable deck state or trigger climaxes, we can play this to just free fresh into a better deck state to hopefully survive a turn. Our only other level 2 that we play is Career Advice Aki Hayakawa. This is the assist we mentioned earlier. It's a 2000 power assist to level 3 or higher characters. This is mainly important for keeping our early plays alive. At the beginning of clock phase and attack phase, if Future Devil is underneath this card as a marker, look it up to 3 cards on the top of your deck and put them back in the original order. So that's the payoff that we're going to get from using the Future Devil as its marker when we play it, apart from the refund on stock. Unfortunately, I don't think this information is actually super important. The clock phase information is nice because it can tell you whether you are going to draw decent cards off of clocking, and maybe lead you to clock or to not clock. Or just to hold off and brainstorm instead if you know you're going to hit a climax. So that information's fine. The attack phase information I think is less important for the same reason that the Makima alarm effect wasn't super important in this deck. Outside of changing your attack order, it's not going to do a whole lot, especially since you can't rearrange them. Like if you see a climax there, you still have to trigger it. You can't fix that unless you have this and the Makima and can like attack their third and rearrange it or whatever, but that's very niche, not gonna happen a lot. So I don't value this text very highly. It's kind of just here on an assist that we're gonna play anyway. Third effect is that when we trigger a climax, we can discard a climax to put the top card of clock into waiting room. So if we trigger a climax, we can discard it to heal, basically. We're not playing gates and we're only playing 4 treasure, so this again probably won't come up super often. And a lot of times if we trigger the treasure, we'll want to either hold it for our finisher or climax swap it into a StockSoul anyway. Not really want to discard it. So this is only going to come up if you're just kind of like flooded on climaxes. You can turn them into heals, which is nice for that scenario, but again, not something I'd count on being super common. We're going to go a little out of order on level 3s here. We're going to look at our early play first, since it comes next in our game plan most likely. This is Revenge Aki Hayakawa. It's a 3/2/9k. The early play condition is tied to having memory. You have 2 or more easy revenge in memory, which is our 1/1 event. This gets -1 level in hand. So another reason that we want to set these up before we put the Kishibes on board, since the time that we'll be playing these Akis is likely, you know, directly after our Kishibe turns, and it's very likely we still have 1 or 2 Kishibe alive. So makes getting easy revenge in memory first super important. On play effect is to put 1 card from the top of your clock into waiting room and gain 1500 power until end of turn. So this is a 10/5 on offense the turn you play it, and it's a healer. Pretty good just to jam, get a heal, you know, swing over a lane. And it's a super consistent early play condition that we'll always have access to. We don't have to worry about having like 2 or less climax or whatever. It's not going to change as the game goes on. Once we have it, we have it. Third effect is when the battle opponent becomes reversed. If we have any card in memory, which we will, reveal the top card of deck. If it's level 1 or higher, put it into your stock. With our massive count of level 0s, this is not going to happen super often, but he is probably going to reverse a lot of his battle opponents. This is active on both players' turns, so you will hit free stock here and there off of it. This is probably the one effect where the Aki assist, letting you look at your top 3, and the Makima letting you rearrange might affect your attack order, since you can use it to try to guarantee the stock off of this a little more often. Next, we have 1 copy of Senior Devil Hunter Himeno. This is a 3/2/95. On play from hand, choose up to one of your opponent's characters and return it to their hand. You may choose one card in your hand and put it into your waiting room. If you do, choose one of your opponent's characters and return it to their hand. So, on play, bounce 1. You can discard a card to bounce a second time. This is just really good at clearing out any boards of sort of defensive decks that might have counters, which is a lot or not a lot, just depending on how the meta is going at any given point in time. It's really just there for that. If your opponent has like rest counters, has any damage counters, you can open up direct lanes. In the Chainsaw Man mirror against the non Himeno Aki decks where they might be playing the first Kiss event, it goes to memory and gives -3 soul. That is actually not counter timing. That's going to happen whether you bounce their characters or not, but opening up direct attack slots still gives you that extra soul so that you can be swinging for 1 in a direct lane with your finisher, even through -3 soul, which is nice. So just good card overall. Second effect on it is an alarm effect. If it's the top card of clock at the beginning of your climax phase, you can discard 1. Choose one of your opponent's level 1 or higher characters. Your opponent chooses a level X or lower in their waiting room and exchanges them. X is the level of the character you chose, -1. So this is similar to like the My Little Shido effects that you see in Data Live. The IMA level 3 from Hololive set 1. It's good at just clearing out like one early play or something that you just need to turn into a smaller character. It also kind of works out nicely that this is an alarm effect, so we can clock this at level 2 to get the level down effect. And when we level up, this will go to our waiting room, and our finisher conveniently salvages on play. So even if we think we might need the bounce effect, we don't have to hold this in hand. We can clock it to get the level down, and then just salvage it back once we hit level 3, as long as we have the stock to play it again. Looking at our level 3 finisher itself, this is our final character for the deck. Public Safety, Devil Extermination, Squad Division 4, Aki Hayakawa, 3/265, seems a little small, but he gets bigger. First effect, Continuous Memory. If Devil Hunter Himeno is in your memory, this gets plus 4,000 power and character encore. So that's the Brainstorm that we play 2 of, and one of the reasons that sending it to memory is relevant. It's going to make our Aki 10-5 with encore, meaning even if we fail the first attempt at our finisher, which I promise you're probably not going to fail the first attempt at your finisher, you can encore him and just try to go again if you can find the climax again, which is kind of insane. Like I said, probably not super relevant most of the time, but it's there. It's text. Second effect is on play from hand. Choose a character in your waiting room, return it to your hand. This is maybe the most broken text on this card. I'm not 100% sure. The finisher line is also kind of nuts. You only need 1 copy of this guy to do your triple finisher turn, as long as you have waiting room, because you can just play this guy, salvage the second one, play it, salvage the third one, play it, grab like free fresh counter or something, and go to town. Makes this require very little setup, which is insane. It means you can focus all of your sculpting kind of in the mid game on like looping early play healers and not really have much concern about actually getting your finishers together. The third effect on it is the climax combo. On attack, if Resolute Unsheathing, which is the treasure, is in your climax area, this card gets plus 1,000 power until end of turn. Put the bottom 4 cards of your opponent's deck into their waiting room and deal 1 damage X times. X is the number of climax among those cards. This is very similar to the Icy Tail effect where you mill bottom 4, deal X. However, this is split up into instances of 1, like the origami from Data Live, instead of just dealing 1 chunk of X. That is a very huge difference that plays a large part in why this card is so absurd. Being able to, you hit 2 climaxes, your burn 1 for free is insanely good rate. And because of some of the other cards in this deck, you're basically always hitting at least 1, if not 2, on your mill bottom 4s. It's not mentioned anywhere on Aki's text, but it is worth remembering that the Easy Revenge event that goes to our memory, the character that it mentions in its effect for looking at your opponent's bottom of deck is the Aki Hayakawa. Since this activates on attack, you're using this to sort of mill off your opponent's bottom to get closer to finding a climax so that his effect is guaranteed to hit, which is super powerful synergy. This does also stack. Every copy you have of Easy Revenge in memory will all trigger. So if you have 3 of these, you're looking at their bottom 3 to sort of try to find climaxes, which is wild. Next we have our StockSoul, which combos with the Break Time Himeno, obviously, and our Treasure. which combos with the Aki finisher we just looked at. We're playing 4 of each climax because we just want consistency, baby. Take a look at the deck as a whole again. All these cards here, nice color spread. Pros of the deck, it has a ton of consistency for low cost. A lot of our cards, Climax Swap, Brainstorm, etc., are just free to do what they do. And even the ones that aren't only cost like 1 stock usually, and we have StockSouls to make up for that. We have very high power board presence at level 1, with the Kishibeis reaching 10,000 power on a full field, with 3 of them in the front. So that's very difficult for any deck to get over without bombs, which are just, you know, even trades anyway, so we're usually fine with that. And we have a powerful finisher with insanely low cost and setup requirements, since it can salvage itself and it's just a free finisher effect. However, the cons of the deck are that the Kishibe level 1 can make setting up a little awkward, preventing you from playing the events and being on double color. However, it's usually workable around enough. The other main con of this deck is that your teammates can't also play it. If you're going to team up, you're probably playing this, and your two Springfest teammates can't also play it. So, big downside that you can't run 3 of this deck, honestly. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about this one trick. Click here, judges hate him, the one trick that makes your Chainsaw Man deck broken or whatever. One thing that I see a lot of players picking this deck up for the first time sort of mess up is the triggers with Easy Revenge and the Aki finisher. Let's look at an example here and say you have 3 copies of Easy Revenge in memory and you're attacking with your Aki finisher. You're going to attack, you're going to trigger your Easy Revenge events, you're going to resolve the first one, look at your opponent's bottom card, say it's a character, you mill it into waiting room. You go to resolve your second Easy Revenge, you look at their bottom card, it's a climax. So there's a climax on bottom, that's where you want it to be for your effect, that's how you're going to deal extra damage. And you still have 1 Easy Revenge left. A lot of people are going to think here that that Easy Revenge is kind of just wasted at this point, because you've already found the climax, so you're just going to leave it there anyway. But because of the way auto ability triggers work in this game, Easy Revenge and Aki both have the same timing. They both trigger their effects when Aki attacks. Because of this, you can choose to resolve them in any order, which means we can actually resolve the Aki third here. Since we know there's a climax on bottom, go ahead and mill the opponent's bottom 4, find 1 or more climaxes, deal damage to our opponent, and then come back to that last Easy Revenge trigger before we move into trigger step, and resolve it to look at their bottom again. This is going to let us, you know, if we find another character, we can mill that off and start digging toward a climax for our second copy of Aki to attack into. This honestly makes all the difference in the world for this finisher's lethal ranges, right? Because if you find a climax early on one of your Akis, you might get to dig as many as like 5 or 6 cards to try to find the next climax for your next Aki. This extra mill also means that you're going to be getting toward refresh points a lot more often, which is, you know, I mean, you're milling potentially 3 cards off of Easy Revenge plus 4 for the Aki, so like 7 per attack. Plus your attack damage, plus your burns. You can get a lot of refresh points here, which are uncancelable damage, effectively. And that's kind of just what makes this card so insane, is the way that you can order it around to get so many burn 1s so frequently, for no cost, really. After you've already played a game of slamming StockSouls over and over again, and having early play healers, and winning board. Which overall is just why this deck's nuts, why this deck got restricted in Japanese. Interactions like this are just honestly unhealthy for the game, but if you're going to play it and you're going to compete in regionals, you're going to do what you can to win here and play the best deck. Look at the deck as a whole one more time, a little closer up. As always, you can check out the deck log page using the code in the bottom right. That is H4FF for this deck. You can see another breakdown of it there. Have a form that you can send it to people or copy onto your own deck log to use in events. Thank you for watching. As always, I know it's been a minute since I uploaded a Vice Schwartz video. I should have another Chainsaw Man deck profile coming soon. Until I get that out, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what other decks you'd like to see. And you should be able to watch some videos that are on the screen right now in the meantime. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.